My father made me give up my dream to work in his company, promising he'd give it to me as inheritance, but now that he's gone, I find out everything was given to my sister's boyfriend. I was 18 when Dad sat me down and said, "Forget college, you're learning the business." My brother and I believed him because he kept saying the company would be ours someday. It made sense at the time. Why waste money on tuition when we'd inherit everything anyway? My brother quit after 2 years. He told me the low pay and Dad's treatment weren't worth some future promise. I thought he was being dramatic. I stayed because I genuinely believed it would all pay off in the end. That's when things started changing. My sister never had to work at the company, but somehow got an allowance that was triple our salary. She'd post vacation photos while I was working weekends. Dad said she'd still get her share when he passed, which seemed unfair, but I accepted it. Then my sister started dating Gavin. Within 6 months, Gavin became Dad's golden boy. Suddenly, it was Gavin traveling with Dad to meet clients. Gavin getting taken to expensive dinners. Gavin receiving advice about business strategy. Meanwhile, I was the one actually running operations, managing inventory, handling payroll, dealing with angry customers. Dad forgot my 25th birthday completely. Didn't even send a text. But that same year, he threw a massive party for Gavin's birthday. Rented out a whole restaurant, invited 100 people, spent thousands. I showed up because I thought I had to. Watched everyone toast to Gavin while I stood in the corner like a stranger. I confronted Dad about it once. He said Gavin had fresh perspectives and modern ideas. I asked, what about my ideas? The ones that increased our revenue by 30% last quarter. He just shrugged and said, that's your job. Gavin started making comments too. Little jabs about how I was basically just an employee. How Dad saw him as the real successor. Dad would laugh when he said these things. Actually laugh. Like it was some inside joke between them. I worked there for 8 years total. 8 years of opening at 6 a.m. and closing at 8 p.m. 8 years of handling emergencies at midnight. 8 years of covering for everyone else's mistakes. I made less than our newest hire because Dad said I didn't need much since I'd inherit everything eventually. My friends all moved on with their lives. Got degrees, started careers, bought houses. I was stuck making poverty wages while being promised a fortune that felt further away every year. Then Dad got sick. Cancer. He had 6 months. I thought maybe now he'd finally talk to me about the transition, about my role in the company's future. Instead, he spent those final months teaching Gavin everything, taking him to every meeting, introducing him to every contact. I visited Dad in the hospital 2 days before he died. I asked him directly, Dad, am I going to run the company? He looked at me for a long time and said, we'll see. That was it. We'll see. The will reading was last Tuesday. My brother got the house in the suburbs, worth maybe $300K. My sister got his savings account, around $200K. And the company, the $1 million company I'd sacrificed my entire 20s for, went 80% to Gavin. The remaining 20% was split between my sister and brother. I got nothing, not even a mention. My sister actually smirked at me across the lawyer's office. Gavin wouldn't even look at me, but I could see him trying not to smile. My brother seemed shocked, but didn't say anything. I walked out before anyone could speak to me, drove home in silence. Sat in my apartment that night surrounded by 8 years of wasted time. The next morning, I started making calls. First to our 3 main suppliers. Told them I was leaving and strongly suggested they get payment up front for any new orders because management was changing. 2 of them pulled their contracts within 48 hours. Then I called our biggest clients, the ones I'd built relationships with over years of late-night calls and problem solving. Set up coffee meetings with each one. They asked where I was going. I told them the truth, starting my own company, and I'm taking everything I learned with me. 4 of them signed agreements that week. Gavin called me screaming about contract interference. I reminded him I never signed a non-compete because Dad always said family doesn't need contracts. My brother called yesterday, said Gavin is panicking because revenue is already down 40%, asked if I'd consider coming back. I laughed and hung up.